Hello and welcome back to another week of Two Sheep in a Pool. My name's Ben.
My name's James.
How are you doing?
I'm doing alright. I actually got some grief today for how late in my life I watched The Godfather.
Okay. From whom?
From a couple of guys at work.
At least you've watched it.
I know, I was like, I only watched The Godfather for the first time the other week. And they both went, for the first time! And like, give me like proper dirty looks. And like, how have you got so long without watching The Godfather? And I was like...
I think it's fine when people...
It's 3 hours long.
Like, I would take the piss out of you for something like that.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I don't...
Yeah.
You know these people that like genuinely get aggro about it? It's just like, chill out.
Yes. How have you never seen...
It's fine.
The Twinkle 3?
I've heard that's a good one.
Yeah. It's better than
1 and 2.
Yeah. But not as good as 4.
Yeah, I've heard that. Well, that's annoying.
So that's my mini complaint about people complaining about me.
All right, good. Have you got a proper complaint?
No.
I've
had a pretty good week.
I've had a great week too.
Generally all right.
Yeah. There we go. Should we finish?
That was a good short podcast. Welcome. Thanks for listening to.
Well, should we go into news?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do that. I feel like there's a lot of news.
Sure.
News, Bleat. Right, well, I've got no news, so...
We half mentioned this before we started, but Brexit's causing politicians to lose their fucking minds.
Brexit is the gift that just keeps on giving.
Is it a gift? Is it like a Greek gift? As in, like, the Trojan horse?
Oh, okay. I was going to say, where are you going with that? I understand now.
So, like, something that was given in love and joy. No, not really. But it's basically fucked up Parliament. Go on, give us what's gone down then, Ben.
All right, Brexit's happening, or is it?
Well, good question.
Nobody knows. That's basically no one knows what's happening. That's the summary.
Yeah, Boris Johnson keeps coming out and saying, I will go out with Brexit, go out of the EU with no deal.
Yep.
If I have to, and. Labour and other members of opposition parties are basically trying to stop us getting a no deal.
And there's Tory party members defecting to Lib Dem.
Yes.
Midway through.
Yes. Yeah, I hadn't seen this. Do you want to explain it?
Oh, there was in House of Commons. Boris Johnson was in the middle of giving a speech about something Brexit related, I'm sure. I can't remember the exact point that he was talking about. But one of the Tory party members defected mid-process and like physically moved into another section. That was that bit you missed.
Yeah, it's just gone a bit apeshit wild. I think there's going to be another general election.
It seems inevitable at this point.
And even though Boris Johnson keeps saying there will not be an election, he keeps making promises as if there was going to be an election.
Yeah.
And I think it's almost he's doing it so that I don't think he cares whether or not the Conservatives win or not. It's doing it so it makes it much more difficult to put together a counteract to us leaving the EU.
Although it looks at the moment, I mean, anything could change at any second, but the last I saw, it looked like the MPs that were gunning for us leaving the EU to be delayed,
right? So
we don't get a no-deal exit. It looks like we might be delaying that until January 31st instead of October the 16th, was it?
It's Halloween.
Well, it looks like that's going to be delayed. I think that's where it's up to at the moment.
Right. Is that what they've put forward? We want to delay, or is it?
I think. Because honestly, at this point, I'm not sure whether it's what they've put forward or whether it's just a byproduct of something that's going on.
Yes. Because really, they have to go to the EU and say, we would like to delay again. If the EU come out back and say no, well, we're tough titties, do you know what I mean, really? It's just a bit of a mess, really.
This is like the Brexit section that's now part of the podcast.
I don't even want to talk about Brexit.
I was going to say, I feel like I have no more to say on the matter other than... Well, no, I have no more to say on the matter.
Other than nothing.
Have you got any fun news? Any light-hearted news? Any sad news? Anything that's just not Brexit?
I think Brexit just dominates everything at the moment, really. Yeah. I can't think of anything else.
Well, I've got a lot, I think, to say about the main topic. So if we can have a short news section this week if we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. You can go into fake news or not.
Shall we check with the listeners that they're happy yeah, we've got the go ahead. Let's go into fake news or not.
I just imagine the listener is like, it's like an amorphous blob. And
Yeah.
just like a thumbs up's just come out of it going, yes, this is fine.
Yeah, our one listener, Bob.
Our one listener, Barry.
No, he's
Barry
Bob.
Chuckle.
Barry-
R.I.P. Oh, actually, I have that. This is news.
Don't say this Chuckle Brothers news.
Well,
I mean Chuckle Brother news.
No, the Chuckle Brothers was voted the #1 best children's TV show.
Good.
Yeah.
So it should be.
Yeah. Do you know? Let me see if I can get it up. Okay, I've got the top 10 here.
Okay.
Okay. So #1 is ChuckleVision.
I feel like we're doing this in odd order. Should we do the five up to 1?
Sure. So if you see, you guess some TV shows, and I'll tell you whether in the top 10.
When we say children's shows, are
Yeah.
they like young children's shows?
No,
Are we not like Postman Pat?
no, more like CBBC rather than CBeebies.
Oh, what's that Devil Finger one?
It's not on it.
Okay,
Whatever it's called.
good, because I didn't like that one. Jungle Run.
Nope. Some more classic ones. You'll know these.
I can't think of any.
Okay, so we've got Blue Peter at 6.
Oh, okay, yeah. Art Attack.
No.
Fuck off.
Number 10 is The Demon Headmaster.
I don't know.
You don't know it?
Don't know.
Biker Grove.
Never watched it.
No, I never watched it. Grange Hill.
Never watched it.
But you know of these.
Vaguely.
The Sarah Jane Adventures.
Don't know what that is.
That's a Doctor Who spin-off.
With K9.
Yes.
Yep. Never watched it.
That was number 5. Number 4 is Horrible Histories.
Watched a couple.
Yep. Number 3 is Dick and Dom in the Bungalow.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
And number 2 is The Story of Tracy Beaker.
Never really liked it.
Did you not?
No.
Oh.
I always found Tracy Beaker irritating.
I think that's the point, though.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Fair enough.
Chuckle Brothers, yes. Blue Peter, yes. Dick and Dom in the Bungalow. The rest of the list is shit.
yeah, true. Fair. Well, fair enough.
Two sheep, definitive answer.
There we go.
Fake news, that's where we were going.
We were, yes.
After
Let's fake news.
the listeners gave us the go-ahead to
leave. No, we didn't.
leave. Yeah. Right, fake news or not. Right, well, I've had a very successful last 5 weeks in this game.
Oh, mate. I
on
just...
a winning streak.
You have. I think there is actually no way for me to come back now.
Oh, no, there's not.
Which is fine. We'll just play it out. No mercy.
For anyone who's joining for the first time,
Yes.
Fake News or Not is a game where James brings me a news headline, and I've got to work out whether it's real or fabricated by him. Fake news.
It's true.
I have no questions to ask this week because I'm on a winning streak, so I'm just going to have to guess.
You will.
Hit me.
Okay. Teenager goes blind after only eating sausage and chips.
A good balanced diet. I know this isn't a question. I imagine that this must be in the UK.
Okay.
I feel like sausage and chips is like a staple of like the average UK child.
Yes.
I mean, not for every meal, mind you. But
Only might be an exaggeration. That he may have eaten other terrible stuff as well, but sausage and chips was the main staple.
The main staple.
Mm-hmm. I will give you yes, this happened in the UK.
And he went blind.
He went blind.
I don't even know if that's possible.
Maybe he was like feeding the sausages into his eyes.
That'll do it. Because can you go blind from just eating a lot of... Because, I mean, it's not the healthiest thing, but you get some nutrients from it. If you say... If he got, like... If he died from constipation, I might be
right.
more like, oh, yeah, I can see how that would work. But
died from a stuck
blind?
sausage.
Or maybe he just happened to go blind, and it's false correlation of his food.
Maybe.
I'm going to go with this is true.
After all that,
Yeah.
against it. All right.
This is a true story.
This is a true story.
Yes! The streak continues.
Yeah.
Tell me more. I'm actually intrigued.
Eye doctors in Bristol cared for the 17-year-old after his vision had deteriorated to the point of blindness. Since leaving primary school, the teen has been eating only French fries, Pringles, white bread, as well as the occasional slice of ham and sausage.
Jesus.
But I think the headline of sausage and chips...
Yeah, it works. It's better than listing off all of the foods.
Yes. So basically he had like severe vitamin deficiencies and basically malnutrition damage. So because he's a very picky eater, he ends up damaging his eyes to the point of blindness. He got, I think at the age of 14, he was diagnosed with like tablets and stuff like that, but he just didn't take them and ended up going blind for it. That's a great story to take to any like fussy eater kids.
Yeah,
isn't it? Like,
yeah, it's like if you don't eat your crusts, your hair won't go curly. I never understood. Did you ever hear that?
Yes,
you won't get curly hair if you don't eat your crusts.
Mm-hmm.
Do children like inherently want? Is like curly hair like the gold standard that all children aspire to?
Fucked if I know.
Well, yeah, that's actually a good one.
Yeah, you will go blind.
Eat your food, or you'll actually go blind. Here's my sources. I've cited them below.
And if you don't eat enough, I'll stick my fingers in your eyes. We don't condone child abuse.
Oh, God. Don't we?
I don't.
Oh, I'll have to amend our bio.
Okay. Good.
Right, well, I think that's the shortest preamble we've ever done, but...
Yeah, I'm proud of you, Ben, for winning once again.
Yeah, thanks. I'm proud of me, too. And I'm proud of you. For being such a good
I'm a good
loser.
sport. I mean, I come back every week with a new one, so
you do.
I haven't killed you yet.
Not yet. There's still a couple of episodes before.
We've got a bit of time yet. Yeah. Right, should we move on? Main topic.
Yeah, let's do it.
What are we talking about, Ben?
I think a recommendation from you.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think so. So after we went and did the VR experience at VR here, great, in Liverpool, if you're going.
Thanks, Brian.
I suggested that we read the book Ready Player One.
Yes.
Which I had already read and suggested that we could read about it and talk about it as an expansion of what we'd spoke about for virtual reality.
But we're actually doing like a bumper double review discussion because we read the book and also watched the film adaptation.
We have.
So
you get a 2-for-1 whammy.
So we're going to talk about them.
Yes. Is this the first book review we've done? We've done mostly films.
Yeah,
haven't
we did. We did. In Will I Recommend? I spoke a bit about The Stand.
Yes, we've spoken about books, but never actually
a book
full
episode.
topic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the first episode of the book club.
It's only taken us 47 episodes.
Yes. If you've not read the book or seen the film, and you want to before you get spoiled, go away and read it.
Last chance.
Yeah.
We'll do a little. We'll try and do a non-spoilery bit before we go into spoilers.
Yeah.
But if you don't want any spoilers, stop listening now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For anyone who's still here,
thanks.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So, what would you give the book? Let's just rate it out of.
Well, we normally do 5 bars.
5 bars, yeah.
The book 3.
Okay.
3 bars.
I think that's fair enough.
Yeah.
And the film
2.
Yeah. The film is significantly worse in my mind.
Yeah.
This is the second time reading the book.
Yeah.
I think the first time I was quite impressed by it.
Yeah.
So I maybe would have given it like 3.5, 4.
Mm-hmm.
But second time listening, I'm like, I've kind of noticed what I don't like about it more.
Yeah.
I wasn't as caught up with the whole kind of idea of the book. Mm-hmm. So I'd probably bring it down.
Yeah, I'd like to say both my 3 and my 2 are just 3 and just 2 in my head as well. I'd also like to preface my thoughts on this with, I don't necessarily know, this could be a discussion point, whether I am the target audience for both of these things.
Right.
I feel like the book is maybe more aimed at either children or like young adult teenager kind of audience. Mm-hmm. And same with the film, but I have more to say about that when we get to the film discussion. For sure. Shall I try and summarize what this is for anyone who isn't going to watch and is just going to listen? So we're set in the year 2050 something. We're in the future.
Yeah.
The world's kind of gone to shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's all a bit of a mess. So most people kind of use a virtual reality as an escape. There is a world called the Oasis, which is this virtual world created by a man called James Halliday.
Correct.
So we join the book as James Halliday dies.
No, it's a couple of years after he
Couple of years. Okay.
Yeah.
So either way, the guy who created this world basically became like a multi-trillionaire, richest man on earth after creating this product. And he dies and leaves behind effectively a treasure hunt inside the Oasis. The person who completes the treasure hunt will inherit all of his fortune and become effectively the most powerful person in the world because they'll be the richest person.
Yes.
That's the premise, I think.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have the character that we follow Wade Watts, or his in-game name is Parzival. And then you have so he's our hero of the story, and then the anti-hero, the villain of the story is IOI, which is a massive corporation that basically wants to take over the Oasis, own it, make much more money off it, even though it seems to make an outrageous amount of money already. They wanted to ruin it with ads and charge people to play, because the Oasis is free to play. I think, or it's a one-time fee of $0.25, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the reason that is because James Halliday grew up in the 80s as like a teenager that age, and so he used to play a lot of arcade games and would pay for $0.25 to play the game, and he would go on from there.
So, for me, what this book is, I like the concept a lot. I like the world, I like the premise. There is a fair amount that I like about it. My biggest issue is the writing itself and the plot of where it goes. I would liken it to if you give a child pen and paper and they draw a really cool racing car that might look really fun and wacky but doesn't quite work.
Right.
Like, it's just not that imaginative. It's not complex, I think.
No.
I think I like a story when I don't quite know where it's going, and I wasn't surprised by anything in this book.
Nothing at all.
Minimal. I feel like there's something you'll think of that I've forgotten, but it just didn't really... Basically, so the treasure hunt, I thought, could be a really cool kind of logic thinking, a lot of puzzle working, and clever things, and there never really was that. It was more like, here's a task that you've got to complete this game with like a perfect score and do this.
Yeah.
And then the character's just like, and I nailed it.
Yeah.
It was very much just like, oh, is that it?
I think a lot of it is like that, because the puzzle bit is the idea is that there is 3 keys that you have to collect. So you have to do a task to get each key, and which opens a gate. And then once you complete that gate, so you go in it, and there's a task within this gate that you try and complete, and then come out the other side.
Yeah.
I think it's very hard to describe what's happening within these games, and if you've not played, because I think he's trying to explain the game, and then them winning the game without actually going for 20 minutes of being intricate details of what's happening.
Yeah. I would think I was more disappointed due to the book that I just read before this.
Right.
Which is, you recommended a book, and I spoke briefly on the podcast, called We Are Legion, We Are Bob.
Yeah.
Which shares a lot of similarities to this. There's a lot of virtual reality and future-based tech.
Definitely.
That book does such a good job of making exciting what could be quite boring things. Because he ends up talking about a lot of problem-solving and logic thinking in a virtual reality and this tech that doesn't quite exist, but he does this great job of like keeping me entertained and thinking this could work. I know that it's not real science, but he does a good job of making it feel like this. Whereas this was doing the same thing.
Ready Player One
was doing the same thing, but just didn't do it well.
Yeah.
That was my takeaway from it. I just didn't find it. I just don't think it was that good.
I think it was more trying to be, like you said, it feels, on a second read through now, it felt more like a young adult novel with the sciencey bit attached to it.
Yeah.
With the idea of, the virtual reality. I think we are in a weird niche, or like a weird part, where if you were older than us, if you went through the 80s, you would probably really enjoy all the references to it.
Yeah.
All the different games and all the different music and everything that's mentioned in it.
Yeah.
Or if you're a young person, you might enjoy the writing and the story a bit more. But I feel like we're too old for that, and too young for the references. Yeah,
that's what I said at the beginning. I don't know whether I was the target audience for this, but I felt like it was confused there, because it was like even more so in the film. I thought this was a massive problem. We can touch on that now. It was like, is this for children or is it for adults?
Yes.
Because the film feels like a children's film, but the references feel like adult references.
Yes.
So it was like, pick one, because you're riding the line and doing neither well.
For sure.
And the book, we'll come to the film, but the book was like that, but that was less of an issue in the book.
I think so as well, yeah.
But yeah, it was mostly just the riddles and the clues. It was kind of like, I don't know, it felt more like a paint by numbers kind of plot line That's what I thought.
So what did you think of the main character then?
Main character in the
let's
book.
talk about book.
Let's talk about book specific. Okay, he was good. He kind of goes through a journey of he is like a slightly overweight, kind of lonely kid, doesn't socialize in the real world, but then escapes into this virtual world where he's a cool kind of successful. He becomes very successful because he's the first person to solve the first clue, and that like rockets him to celebrity
because
status.
there's a high score, and if you complete one of the tasks, your name goes in the high score, and you are then famous. Everybody sees you, and everyone knows who you are.
Yeah,
and he basically sells out.
Yeah,
like he's like puts his name on everything to get as much money as he can.
Yeah,
I think that's fair enough. I think I would probably do the same.
But he kind of goes through a journey as well where he slowly grows in the real world as well, where he realizes, okay, I need to better myself in the real world because I can't get all my happiness from virtual.
True.
So he kind of like starts exercising a bit, becomes a bit healthier. I mean, he exercises in the virtual world to make himself healthier in the real world, but he grows basically over the course of the thing. So while we're talking about characters, I think that the characters in the book are just about fleshed out enough that I care about them, but I don't care about them that much.
No, I think not.
I know that this is like comparing it to like a masterclass in, if we talk about The Stand, like Stephen King, all the characters there are just so well developed and great. But here it's like, they do just enough. But I wish that he'd played more into the dynamics of the people in the real world and the people in the virtual world.
Right.
So he eventually in the book the characters meet in the real world.
They do, and
it turns out that some of them aren't as they appear in game.
So Wade, or Parzival's best friend H. Is just a normal white dude.
Yep.
And they're like busy friends.
Yep.
And it turns out that she's African American and a woman in real life.
A woman, yeah.
Yeah. So he's kind of like shocked and hurt a little bit, like, oh, why have you lied to me?
Yeah.
But then kind of very quickly just accepts it.
Yeah. So I thought some really like cool dynamics, because it felt, when I say paint my numbers, it was like there's a cool guy in the book and there's a cool girl in the book. They end up being paired together in this like relationship, and I kind of thought that at one point I was like, is he going to go down this route of, when it turns out his best friend H is a woman and they meet, and now I was like, oh, they could kind of go from like this virtual friendship to relationship, because he's lusting after this girl in game, and the one that he actually connects with on a friend level. Could it go there?
But
and then it just didn't. I was kind of like, oh
no,
And I'm not saying that should have been what happened, but I thought they could have done some more interesting things.
It was like his big reveal was H is the exact opposite in every single way than you think they were going to be.
Yeah.
But like, it kind of, throughout the whole book, it keeps going, not everybody's as they seem in the game. Like, just because you are basically the same as you are in real life doesn't mean everybody else is. And so the expectation is, going through it, you're like, well, someone's going to be different. Someone's going to be different. So his love interest is this girl called Artemis, who consistently says throughout the whole thing, oh, I'm going to be so different. I'm not like I am in the real. I'm not like I am in the Oasis that I'm in real life. I'm different. You know, I might be a 200-pound guy called Chuck who lives in his mum's basement.
Yeah.
Well, you just never felt like that was going to be the case. It was always going to be like, oh, it's going to turn out she's attractive with some sort of like superficial flaw that she finds. She doesn't like about herself, you know, like it was in the book that she had a birthmark on her face, but I'm surprised it wasn't even like she had a big nose, or something like that. It could have been nothing, or like she was disabled. I think disabled would have been more interesting, you know, if she was, you know, was unable to walk or something like that, or was blind. No, that wouldn't really work. But virtual reality. But
I get what you're saying. Yeah, that's my point.
But it was like, oh, some part of my skin is slightly different coloured. Yeah. And you basically look exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
That was my issue. I think we've summed it up there. Right, let's eventually come to the good stuff. My last other big point that I want to talk about. Some of the dialogue in this is atrocious.
Yeah, it is.
Like, he finished the challenge in the second gate, and he had to play guitar, and it was there was like one line that stuck out to me. It was like, in the real world, I can't play guitar, but when I pick up in the Oasis, I can totally shred.
Totally shred.
It's just like,
yeah.
like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's because he's like supposed to be a teenager, but he's like 17, but he talks like he's 14.
Yeah.
And then he gets given an offer by IOI after becoming number one on the leaderboard. IOI have this section that are trying to win the game as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the head of IOI invites him over to kind of have a talk about it, and he just acts like a massive child. He's just like, nah, fuck you.
He's like,
you
want to make me... Yeah, he was like, suck my balls. I'm not taking your offer. Like, he didn't actually say that, but
no.
He may as well have done. And the other point that this is a plot issue as well for me. So James Halliday had a co-creator with his business called Ogden Morrow.
He did.
And Ogden Morrow he was just the biggest. I can't be bothered to work out a plot
savior
device here. So I'm just going to make him turn up, be able to do anything in game, and solve all the issues at the end. Like, they were in this like encrypted chat room where they were having an important conversation about IOI are after us, trying to kill us. We need to like beat them to the end. How the hell are we going to do it? And there's literally a voice pops up in the corner of the room, goes, I think I can help you. And then he emerges and they're like, how did you get here? No one can come in this room. And he's like, I have my ways. And then he proceeds to fly them all by private jet to his residence in the real world, gives them all this tech, and just basically helps them. I was just like, try harder.
Yeah, it does take the tension out of the last portion of the book. Because for the previous portion, so IOI is basically painted as almost like the perfectly evil. There's nothing that they won't do. So they tried to kill Parzival Wade early on. By blowing up where he lives, killing his aunt and uncle.
I did enjoy that they bought real stakes.
Yes, but then they threw it away.
But exactly.
Yeah, so they have these real stakes where they found out where they actually live and who they're with and who they're signed, like what time they're signed on.
Yeah.
And there's these real high stakes that they will try and kill you.
Yeah.
If you're not getting to a safe position.
Yeah.
And then there's that tension for maybe it feels like, I don't know, a couple of chapters, and then, like you said, the great and powerful Og comes in, flies them all to a safe haven.
I almost couldn't believe, like, at that point, I was maybe enjoying the book to maybe just about a 4, if I was forgiving, and then the ending of this book, I was like, nah, this is, like, really try harder. Like, it was almost like he had these concepts and was just writing to a deadline. It was like he couldn't be bothered to figure out. I'm getting annoyed about this, but I think maybe this is a children's book, and I shouldn't be reading too much into it.
I don't know though, because I had this recommended to me like from YouTubers that were like older, like they were like, oh, I recommend this book because I really enjoyed it, but they were like, I don't know if they were older and they got all the 80s references, and then
for me, like, I enjoyed some of the references, and maybe I would have enjoyed them. The references were not enough to save a bad plot.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So with the thing that where Ogden came into the chat room and he was like announced himself earlier on in the book, this was like alluded to when a stack of papers got knocked over.
Yeah.
And then
prefacing it by hitting you in the face with a baseball bat that there's someone there.
Yeah. and then H just goes, oh, don't worry about it. And then you're supposed to forget about it until this point.
It's a glitch.
Like,
well, this is blatantly not a glitch.
Yeah. And then what did you think about the extra life? What did you think about that?
Just a massive MacGuffin. Like, again, there's just like...
So basically, at one point, I feel like most points were adding continue to the story, and then when it wasn't literally physically adding to the story right there and then, you knew it was gonna have some sort of impact later on because it was so in the face about it.
Yeah.
So our main hero Wade ends up getting an extra life within the game. If you die within the game, you have to reset. You have to create a new account.
Yeah.
Whereas he went and beat a Pac-Man game and won a quarter, and he had no idea what it did, but he couldn't take it out. And it was like, well, this is obviously going to have some impact later on.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about the games that you used to be able to play, then getting this extra quarter was obviously going to be like, oh, you can play again,
That's
extra life.
I hate if something can work time travel well into it. If you can work an overpowered character well into it, you need to have things that balance in the story.
Yeah.
When someone just uses a character who's all powerful to do something with the plot, or an item, and not only do it once or twice, multiple times to drive the plot forward, it's just lazy.
Yes, it's like if he was going to help out at any point. And so we were fighting against IOI and the Sixers. The Sixers are the hunters of the treasure hunters as well, from the same corporation. The great and powerful Org could have come in and literally just killed them all there and then if he wanted to stop them. Like, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to help you out because I want to help out the spirit of the egg hunt, this hunt that Halliday put on."
Yeah.
But he does in like the most meaningless way.
Yeah.
Like, if he wanted to, he's all powerful. He could just go, everybody with these digits dead.
Yeah.
But he doesn't.
That's why it ends up. It's very confusing to me, because then his character is like the biggest psychopath in the world, because he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to help you because it'll ruin the fun of the hunt." Mm-hmm. When he knows full well that there's a corporation killing people.
Yeah.
So it's like, either don't step in at all and don't be in this, so you don't have these powers, or don't let these children get murdered when you can prevent it.
Yeah.
So it's like, by introducing that as well, it creates issues for me.
It
I
does.
was like, this is stupid. And that's when I got a bit done with it.
Yeah.
I was like, this isn't clever.
No. What did you like about it then?
So I did like I said, the world building, the concepts. I love that it was all based around this like 80s pop culture. They could have done so much. Like, they did some clues to do with like lyrics of songs. They referenced. I love like the visual imagery where they had to go through this Dungeons and Dragons like remake level, and then he had to fight against this like hulking creature on an arcade machine. I was like, this is really cool visuals. I love the idea of this. I just wish that another writer had written the story around his ideas. I think is basically where I'm going, but I won't talk about that more. I did like most of the interactions between the 5 characters in game, who come to be called the High Five, who are like the 5 leading people in the Easter egg hunt. I like that they're kind of like spread globally all over the place, but they've kind of come together and they've all got lots of differing personalities and like strengths and weaknesses. I thought that was all good on a concept level, and that's as far as my
it's like
good
slightly enjoyable, but then every time you take a step in this world, you're getting a thorn in your foot. Do you know what I mean? There's something always reminding you, like, it could have been great, but wasn't.
I think that was where I was going with my analogy of a child drawing a car, and it's like, I want it to blow things up, so I'm just going to draw these rockets on it, and I want it to fly now, so I'm going to draw an engine. And it's like, you're just adding things because you can, and don't stop to think whether you should.
Yeah. Okay.
So, good things from you?
I kind of enjoyed the actual hunt, and like a lot of the actual, so the keys and the gates I thought were really interesting, the interesting concepts that way, and like you said, the great visualization. I think the friendship between H and Parzival felt quite real. That felt quite real to me.
Yeah.
Whereas the relationship between Artemis and
forced.
Yeah, that felt forced. It was like, oh, I'm in love with this girl, like celebrity almost.
Yeah.
And then I meet her and I'm in love with her, but he doesn't know anything. Like, they basically, it feels like he tells that they talk, but we never actually see them talk.
Yeah.
Whereas with his best friend H, we see them have this banter
Natural
and
dialogue.
yeah.
Which is really why I thought that he might be like, gets into this online relationship with his dream girl.
Yeah.
And then realizes, oh no, that's fake in the real world, but natural friendship turns into real life.
Yeah.
I thought that's why it might go, but
yeah. And it could have been a bigger twist that it was actually a 200-pound dude called Chuck.
Yeah.
And he was actually in love with that person. And if he was going to roll with that, then fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've kind of wimped out.
Yeah,
my books for that.
Wimped out in a lot of areas.
Yeah.
I also liked, I've just remembered another aspect of it. The Oasis virtual world is kind of picture space. And then each world is literally like a planet that you can travel to, isn't it? So like, there's an arcade planet, there's whole thing's like recreated like the land of Indiana Jones, the land of Jurassic Park, that kind of thing. And whilst the game is free to play, fuel, I think, still costs things, and fuel, teleportation
everything
costs.
within it.
Yeah, so at the beginning, he is broke. He can't do anything other than on foot. So I did like that he had to kind of problem solve and drew into the first challenge that he had to work out a way to get to somewhere. So he abuses the school system on getting a free pass. I was like, this is really good. Like, the first quarter of the book, I think, was the strongest portion of the whole thing. Yeah. But then when he gained money, it suddenly just turned into, like, cheat codes, basically.
Yeah.
So I like that dynamic of how the world functioned, and you had to kind of... Yeah, he had to get around that initially. Yeah. I enjoyed all of that.
Yeah. I think, looking at it from, like, a VR perspective, I think this is what, virtual reality is, like, aiming towards, in that it's everything is contained within the same universe. You can go and basically do whatever you want, and you have these, like, they call it haptic gloves in this, where you feel everything that you touch.
I understand now after reading this. You made a point in the VR episode where you were talking about the haptic gloves and kind of like the pressure. Yeah, I was like, I understand where the concept.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real concept. People are doing it in real life as well now. So.
But I think that was maybe not one of the only good things. There are good things. I'm being too harsh, but I enjoyed how he depicted the VR tech, like with depending on how rich you were, you could get like a full VR suit that you could feel like pressure touches. If you were at the beginning, he had like duct tape together stuff basically that he'd sourced.
Well, he just found, didn't he? And he was painted this great computer guy, so he would rebuild stuff, make it out of all broken parts.
So it did like the bare minimum, but still functioned in VR, basically. That was another aspect of his character that I quite liked, and I wish that they had kept consistent throughout, was his kind of like tech geek, hacking side of things. So he, at one point in the plot, I enjoyed the start of this, he got himself imprisoned basically and hacked into a IOI's system by being within it, and kind of hacked it basically by getting himself put in prison.
Did you like that idea?
I liked the idea, not its execution.
Okay.
I think.
Because, I thought... So basically what happens is IOI has control over the third gate, and they've erected this sphere around it that's impenetrable. And as long as the person that's controlling this sphere doesn't move like at all, then the sphere just stays up forever. And because IOI have kind of hacked the system, or like they've done a bit cheating, they can have multiple people controlling the same avatar. Yeah. So that person that's controlling it would never have to sleep. They would never have to do anything. They could just switch in a different real operator of that avatar. And then the solution to that in Wade's world, that's nearly
Wayne's World.
Yeah, and his idea is to get himself arrested by the company, basically, and work his way from the inside. Basically, they have slaves within the company that work for the company to pay off debts.
Yeah, but you'll never pay off the debt.
And that, where it paints the idea of basically real life slavery. So I was like, right, you're really hammering home now how evil this company is. Like, I wish that there was some sort of like they were doing it for their own reasons that they believed were good. Yes. But I feel like there was nothing even redeemed. Like, sometimes you can get behind a villain. For example, Killmonger in Black Panther. You often you feel like you want to root for him because you can understand where he's coming from. But IOI are just painted to be this greedy. There's no
villain for villain's sake.
Yes.
There's no rhyme or reason to what they're doing.
Yes.
It's just...
we're doing it to be evil.
It's literally like the stereotypical, like, nameless, faceless goons in large quantities.
Yes, exactly.
Led by one evil person who's just sitting in the corner kind of... yeah.
Yes, anyway, and so he gets locked up with them. I just thought the whole idea of him going away as like an 18-year-old, getting himself locked up with... because if it fails... like, it just felt like a stupid idea to me. But
yeah, if the execution of it had been better, if he'd made, because it felt like high stakes. Yes, if he failed, he failed, but the payoff can be good. Yeah,
I feel like no one in their right mind would do that. Would actually do that.
No,
because it's basically like I'm getting myself into the slavery with a slight chance of being able to sort something out.
It made it seem even more ridiculous to me that there was pretty much a line in it, I think, where he was like, "I did it for Artemis."
Yeah.
I was like, shut up.
Yeah.
You've known her for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You only know in a virtual world. It just hammered home again that relationship was just flimsy and I did not enjoy it.
No.
Right, should we finish the book portion and move on to the film?
Yeah. So for those that are wondering, how it ends is he hacks into the mainframe and through the back doors and all these kind of like buzzwords.
Yeah.
Gets a robot to pick up a bomb and then sets the bomb off and destroys this wizard that's controlling the orb. Everybody rushes in. They have a giant end of the book fight.
Where he sends out a message. It was, if you take the sentiment, if we work together, we can do anything.
Yeah.
That happened.
Yeah. And then they open the gate, and as they're about to enter, they set off this massive bomb that kills everyone in the whole sector, which is basically half of the whole oasis, because everyone comes to try and sort this shit out.
IOI did that.
Because
they were like, if we can't have it, no one can.
Yeah.
Kill everyone.
And then the extra life that Wade got earlier on, oh wow, what a shocker, makes him so that he can come back, but he hasn't got any items, so he has to run around. Like this whole bit after the explosion was a bit like meh. Like you knew he was going to get into
need to happen.
Yeah, it was
just
like
put him in the room where he needs to be.
Yeah, it's like he was like in a big crater, and he's like, oh no, how will I ever get out of this crater? Did anybody have any items that couldn't have been destroyed that would help me out? And then one goes, oh, if I had a sword, but that won't help you out. And Artemis then goes, oh, I had some boots of flying that I'd never mentioned before.
It was like it was product placement or the sake of putting an Easter egg in for Converse.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I've got some Chuck Taylor All-Stars. I was like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you...
that can give you flying, and it was like, oh, and then I found them and I flew into the gate, and I was like, you spent ages making us like work this little thing out.
Just go, I got resurrected, I'm in the room, done.
I got resurrected, the gate was still in front of me, and I walked through. Yeah. And then he defeated the final tests and won the final thing. Yes, and then he won, and he was a millionaire, and he shared all his wealth with his friends that had survived, and everyone got a quarter of the wealth.
Right. Riddle me this.
Okay.
So, as James Halliday, he kind of meets it's not clear whether James Halliday lives on in the game, because it's not just his avatar, it's like he talks to him in a way, doesn't he? It's kind of like suggested, is he like a ghost kind of...
Ghost in the
Has
shell.
he uploaded his mind into it type thing?
From the book, my feeling was that no.
No. Okay, so as James Halliday gives him a speech of, you've won, you get all... That was the other thing, he just turned him into God. He was like, you can do anything you want now. Here's all my money, and here's a massive button that will turn off and delete the whole oasis.
Yeah.
Why put that there? Is it setting himself up for future stories, do you think?
I don't know. I think it's just the idea that if he wanted to, like, you now have control of everybody coming back into the real life. If the Oasis has taken over the world.
So that's what I was thinking. Why place it there and not end the book that way? Because he's like, this can delete the whole Oasis.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't do it.
No.
So I just was curious, if this was meant to be a standalone book, why do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why didn't the great and powerful Og just resurrect everybody, apart from the Sixers? Because once Wade gets these powers, he can do that. He can just snap his fingers.
Because Og is a psychopath.
Yep.
He's a twisted man.
He is.
That's the only answer.
Mm-hmm. And then that's kind of how the film ends. Him and Artemis fall in love.
It's a happily ever after.
Yeah.
Straight down the middle.
Woohoo! And everyone cheered.
Complete wimped out ending.
Yeah.
Right.
The film.
I think that's just dropped a rating after we've been discussing it.
Possibly. It was enjoyable as a journey if you didn't think. Like, if you didn't think about it at all, it was like, oh, this is quite... It's like, you watch dumb TV. Yeah. And, like, this is enjoyable because it's dumb, it's stupid.
I think I've made this point before, though. There are such good TV shows on now. There are such good books. Mm-hmm. And there's so many of them. I don't want to settle for just a dumb, fun story that could be better now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, I could go and stream 100 different books or films that are not masterpieces, but that are good.
Yeah.
I think, be better is what I'm saying.
Just be good.
Yeah.
Yes, let's move on to the film.
Onto the film. Take all of the points that I've just said and amplify them, and that's my feelings on the film.
Let's just end it there then.
They took any of the complex problem-solving, treasure-hunty aspects.
Yeah.
They simplified even further.
Oh,
that was my vague issue in the book. This was... They took... So that the keys were meant to be hidden in the Oasis. They had to problem solve to find the keys and then do a challenge. So in the film, they literally turned the first one into, it's a race.
It was almost like someone found... They were like, I think I missed it. It was like, someone found something and now the first one's just a race. And then...
This film was literally blink and you miss it.
Yeah.
They raced through everything.
No...
I know, I feel like I say this all the time. No character development, no nothing. It was just like slap you over the face with set piece after set piece.
Yeah.
It was like CGI, everything just... Everything's going everywhere. No substance.
Let's talk about the CGI characters then. What...
Weird.
Yeah. Do you think they went... So, basically, in the book, it's kind of described the characters as being mostly, like, generally just human-looking.
Yeah.
With maybe, like, I'll make myself a little bit thinner, a bit taller, a little bit more attractive. In this, they look like cartoon characters.
Yeah.
Their eyes are, like, jumping out of their face. It takes up, like, 50% of their face for, like... Parzival and Artemis, and then H is like some sort of ogre,
robot ogre.
Yeah, I think obviously because they could.
Yeah.
I think they were trying to do a lot of Easter eggs where people were playing as games from now.
Yeah,
like there was Overwatch and there was Halo and there was all the different guns and stuff.
Either do that or don't. I feel like it didn't have a strong art direction, and I think that was its issue.
Yeah,
I feel like they were like, let's go for a vaguely CG realism. Whereas they could have either gone full video game and modeled like each world or scene could have been a different art style.
Right.
Like if you were in an 80s Pac-Man world, everything would have that 80s vibe. If you're in a real world, everything becomes real world. And everywhere in the middle of that. There could have been a spectrum and real melding of these like video game art styles. And they didn't do... It's like they didn't settle on anything in particular. And you just got this kind of... visual.
For sure. Like we said earlier about we're not sure what age group this is aimed at. What's the age rating on this? I've not actually checked.
No idea.
Let's just double check now, just before I make a fool of myself.
It's PG.
Yeah, right. Okay. PG film. There was one scene in particular that I just thought was so weird and cringy. So it's when Wade and Artemis are in this gravity-free dance floor, and Artemis basically goes like, "Oh, have you got a suit that you can feel everywhere?" And then she just basically like feels him right up, and he was like, it looked like he was jizzing in his pants.
Yep.
And she's like holding him everywhere.
To the point of, you could see his like motion suit where she was touching because it like lit up.
Yeah.
At one point, he had his legs open and his crotch like just,
it was
like lit up.
They were basically. Just riding each other on this dance floor.
Yeah.
And he's like jizzing his pants. And I'm like, is this a children's film? This is weird for a children's film.
It was weird. And also they went into... So this was maybe my only good point I'm going to talk about. They changed all of the challenges pretty much.
Yeah.
And the second challenge, they went into The Shining.
Yeah, that was cool, actually.
That was cool. Pick something... If you're going to do a reference, like, pick it and do it well. They half did that with The Shining.
Yeah, because that was actually, like, CG characters film in the actual Shining hotel. I'm sure that wasn't CG'd. It felt like it was real.
Do that more.
Yeah.
They didn't... This lasted a few minutes in
the
scheme of the film, but that was one of the only good things that worked. However, that kind of started leaning into the horror aspect, which made me think again, is this adult... Is this children? Children aren't going to appreciate the Shining reference because it's going to go straight over their head. Adults aren't going to enjoy this because the rest of the film's so childlike and shit. Pick one or the other.
Yeah,
why are they doing both?
There was literally like a wave of blood. And the zombie woman that H ended up with, like, he was like dancing with.
They did the scene.
Yeah, I'm not actually seen The Shining. So.
They kind of really leaned into it.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is great, but don't just do one scene in the middle of a film that's nothing like this.
Yeah. It felt like that was directed and filmed by somebody completely different or like written by someone completely different, because that was great.
So, Ernest Cline, the author of the book, he was on board for the whole film and co-did the screenplay.
Okay.
So he was on board with this. And
Right.
It wasn't like someone came in and just did something vastly different.
Yeah.
Maybe my issue is I didn't really like what he did with the book, so maybe someone completely different should have done this.
Right.
If they had gone down the route of what they did with The Shining in the second one, they could have had the first challenge be like an adventure Lord of the Rings reference. The second one could have been a horror level. The third one could have been, I don't know, a sports level, like something themed. Like
Or like if you wanted a video game one, like put you in Pac-Man and have like a full-on like Tron style Pac-Man walls, and you're running around, and it could have been scary, it could have been fun, could have been like really difficult.
Like I watched this with my girlfriend last night, and I actually was annoyed by this because it's not often that we're both in the same room with time dedicated to watching a film. And I went the whole way out. I got popcorn, I got beer, we got the dog settled in time to watch the film. And I was annoyed because I was like, I could have watched a really good film in this time.
Yeah, we could have watched Godfather 2.
But
Part 2.
So anyway, through all of this, I was kind of asking my girlfriend, because I had read the book purposely to do this podcast.
Yeah, and you always think the book is better than the film.
So I was trying to stay as objective as I could to not influence her, but she was like, this is shit. Like, it feels like they're rushing through. And I was like, I'm glad you think that, because it's not just me thinking this isn't a good adaptation of the book.
Did you think it was weird in the film, for example? So they have the little bit within the after she felt up his dick, he was like, my name's Wade, and she was like, what?
Yeah.
Don't ever say that. Don't ever be like that. Yeah. Don't ever do this. Don't ever do that. And then like 5 seconds later, she pulled him out and was like, hi, I'm Sam. I'm Amos. Why did they meet? They didn't meet until the end of the book.
It was like they had split personality things in sections of this. Their relationships just made no sense.
No.
Because good point in the book was the development of how you're introduced to these 5 characters throughout the book, how they're competitors, basically.
Yes.
They don't know each other. They're drawn together through a common ground, and they're almost friends, but competitors still. And I enjoy that dynamic. In here, all 5 of them are basically friends already.
Well, there's like 4 are.
Yeah.
And then she turns up and just like, oh, you're my friend now.
She's this like super famous celebrity who is supposedly really good at these challenges because she's always in the first race. That's kind of how she's introduced, but they only just met her, even though they know this, and they're all doing the same race constantly for years seemingly. And then in the real world, in the book, they're eventually drawn together through necessity. In the film, they all happen to live on the same street.
Yeah, basically.
Like,
we were so close and never even knew it. Oh yeah, because that's just how you've written it. You've not made it. You've not made any excitement out of it. What about in the book?
Yeah.
Each person has themselves, like, they put all the information that they've gathered on this 80s references, and Halliday had given like basically all his journals.
Yeah.
That you would have to read through to get hints and clues about what might be coming up.
Yep.
In this, they had like a central place that
there is a library.
Went to. It was weird. It was basically he'd coded his whole life into the game that you could watch from a third-person point of view.
Yeah.
That was weird.
It was dumb.
It was dumb. And the way that he gained the extra life in this is he made a bet with the librarian, and the librarian gave him a quarter.
And it turns out that the librarian is Ogden Morrow in this. I literally, because I knew what the quarter thing was going to be when I saw it pop up, he was like, I bet all my money on this being right. And then the butler was like, oh, well, you won. Toss him a quarter. And I literally went, fuck off.
Yeah.
I was like, if I wasn't doing it for the podcast, I would have turned the film off then.
Yeah.
I was like, this is like the 10th step too far.
You know what this film reminds me a little bit of? A
pile of shit.
Apart from that. Is in a little bit of, do you know Wreck-It Ralph?
Yes.
A little bit like that, because it's a crossover of all these different mixes of video games, basically.
Wreck-It Ralph did it well, though.
It did.
Wreck-It Ralph worked in references and cameos from all these different video games well. Here, they're either just shoved in for the sake of it, or they're so quick that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It was a bit bollocks, wasn't it?
Bit bollocks.
Would you recommend?
No.
I'd recommend the book. If you're looking for something that you want virtual reality, and
I know this was your recommendation. I wouldn't recommend it though.
Yeah, I
would. Okay, maybe I would if I preface it with read it to your kid. I don't
see. I think maybe someone that was born earlier, like that lived through the 80s, might enjoy it more.
I get that. I still stand by what I said before, though. The references alone aren't enough to save a bad plot. That's my view. All this said, this is all opinions.
Yes.
Someone else might love this, and evidently they must, because I checked the reviews, and on Rotten Tomatoes, I think critically and audience, it's in like the high 70s, the film.
Wow.
And the book's obviously well regarded enough to have got the film adaptation. I want to talk about this. This film is directed by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Spielberg's great. This film's not.
Is he, though?
Was he?
Was he?
I feel like I can't talk bad because he has shaped cinema.
He has.
Like, one cool thing I will say is the author of this book kind of references and obviously bases moments of his story on Spielberg's work. Mm-hmm. And now his book has been brought to screen by Spielberg.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Is this just go to show that even Steven Spielberg can't save a bad story?
I'd stand behind that. I expected this to be a lot better because I thought the content that it's like the subject is stuff that I enjoy. Mm-hmm. I'd just come off the back of a book, like I said, about virtual reality concepts and future stuff, and this on paper I thought I would enjoy. I just don't think it was done well.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it less in my second time.
Yeah.
First time I think I was a bit of a whirlwind through it and kind of maybe was enjoying the references in the book like that way around, but then like you said, thinking about it, like having to think about what I listened to it as an audiobook, but what I'm listening to then discuss on here makes me go, that was actually quite bad.
Yeah,
this could have been done better. But it's very easy to complain.
It is very But that said, because I do sometimes think maybe I'm being a bit too harsh because it's easy to find bad points, but there's something like The Godfather, we managed to talk a whole hour about really good points. We did. So I just don't think this had enough of them. The one biggest, just last point before we kind of conclude, the references, I think they could have just done so much more if they'd do a modern version or do a full-on 80s
film
homage. Yeah, the
film for sure. Yeah,
because
it's a mix.
It's obviously enough. We're in a modern, where we live now.
Yeah.
They could have made more references with modern games. They could have done Halo. They could have done.
They did, but like
I know, but they didn't. They didn't.
Passing references.
Yeah, They did like a big amalgamation of loads of things. It's like either theme it around that or theme it around modern. Pick one. Mm-hmm. Don't just crash them all into this mess.
Yeah,
that's my consensus.
Mm-hmm. Not great. Wouldn't recommend.
Yeah.
Right, should we end it there?
Let's end it there.
Well, thank you for listening to us complain for whatever amount of time this has been. It feels like a long time.
Yeah.
At least you don't have to go and watch the film now.
Mm-hmm.
You can find us in all the usual places, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If you'd like to email in your review of Ready Player One, then you can email at bar@twosheepinapool.com. Thank you very much for listening. I've been James.
I've been Ben.
Thanks.
See you next week.
Bye.